My boyfriend lost a round of truth or dare and was asked the color of his underwear. His sister bro jumped in to answer for him, red. Then she slapped my shoulder boldly and said, "We're like the brothers. He doesn't even see me as a woman. I'm the one who washes all his underwear. Don't take it personally, sis." I replied, "That's disgusting." My boyfriend's expression changed instantly. "Watch your words. We're pure brotherhood." His friends chimed in and said I was petty, insecure, and acting like a woman competing out of jealousy. I covered my lips with a smile and said, "Well, all my underwear is washed by my best male friend. Girls shouldn't have to do such dirty chores, right?" The whole room fell silent. Chapter 1. After I said that, the private room went dead quiet. My boyfriend Ian, who had been lecturing and belittling me just seconds ago, froze. Ian's sister bro Sandra suddenly shrieked, "How could you let a man wash your underwear?" Hearing that, Ian finally snapped back to reality. His brows furrowed tightly as he questioned me. "Flora, do you have no shame? How could you let a man wash your underwear?" I shrugged, unfazed. "Oh please, he's my best male friend. We basically grew up wearing the same pair of pants. I don't even see him as a man. What's the problem? Besides, I've known him for 20 years. If anything were going to happen, you think it would be your turn? Don't worry, darling." I ruffled Ian's hair and smiled gently, gracefully. Ian's face went pale with anger. Seeing this, Sandra immediately pressed herself against him, pulling Ian's head into her chest. There, son, don't be mad. Sis Flora is just being a typical petty woman. She must be jealous and said that to annoy you. We're big men, let's not stoop to her level. If you do, we'll have to cut off our mother-son bond." Ian didn't push Sandra away. Resting against her chest, he looked at me. "You insisting on competing with Sandra is pointless. You're both women. Can't you get along? She just talks a little bluntly." Ian said this with the attitude of someone magnanimously forgiving me. His buddies added one after another, "Yeah, sis-in-law, that kind of joke isn't something you should say. A proper woman should keep her distance from men." I cast them a sideways glance and asked, "Then what about Sandra? Why don't you care about her reputation?" Ian cut me off impatiently, "Sandra is different." I widened my eyes and suddenly lifted Sandra's skirt. "So you actually have a penis?" Sandra screamed and ran off, her face turning red. Ian rushed to shield her behind him and demanded, "Are you insane?" I shrugged casually. "You all treat her like one of the brothers, a man, basically. What's there to be shy about? My best male friend made an appointment for us to get a massage. I'm leaving." I didn't want to listen to Ian and Sandra's excuses. I waved at them and walked out. "Oh, and by the way, my best male friend has a bigger chest than you. It's really comfortable to rest on. Eat well, Ian." At the door, I pointed at Sandra's flat chest and laughed before slamming the door shut. Ian had pursued me for half a year, bringing meals, gifts, everything. The day I agreed to date him, several anonymous messages appeared in my inbox, telling me not to date a man who has his own little clique. It's fine. He has his sister bro. And I have my best male friend. Chapter 2. Ian and I hadn't contacted each other for 3 days. But Sandra suddenly added me on WeChat and invited me to go hiking. Sis-in-law, Ian loves to sulk. I've been coaxing him since we were kids. I'm apologizing to you on his behalf first. Couples should always clear up misunderstandings. How about we go hiking this weekend? Looking at the way Sandra used that ridiculous title, I blew on my freshly done nails and agreed pleasantly. When I arrived at the foot of the mountain, Ian, Sandra, and 2 other guys were wearing matching sun protection jackets. Ian hesitated, then walked over and grabbed my hand. "Good, Flora, I was afraid you wouldn't come. About last time, it really went too far. My friends grew up wild, they talk without filters. Let's just move on. After all, we've already met each other's parents. We'll have to get used to things eventually." Sandra came over and wrapped her arm around my shoulder as if we were best friends. "Don't be petty, sis-in-law. You too, hurry up and apologize to sis-in-law. Don't make her upset." The two guys exchanged looks and muttered an unwilling sorry. Ian squeezed my hand and coaxed, "Now you should be appeased, right? My brothers here have never lowered themselves to apologize to anyone." "Flora, shouldn't you say something too?" Ian twisted open a bottle of water and handed it to me, hinting that I should say something soft in return. Fine. Since he was being so thoughtful, I cleared my throat. "Thank your ancestors for the past 18 generations." "Flora." One of the guys jumped up in anger and I quickly hid behind Ian, wiping my tears. "Boo-hoo, Ian GE, look, they're so mean. They don't like me at all. Maybe I should just leave." Maybe it had been too long since he last saw me acting fragile. Ian instantly lost his senses. His protective instinct exploded as he stepped in front of me. "All right, Flora is my girlfriend after all." The two guys couldn't say anything more. But Sandra suddenly snatched the water bottle from Ian's hand and gulped it down aggressively. She drank so wildly that water splashed everywhere, soaking the front of her shirt. Then she unzipped her jacket, revealing a forced-out cleavage. And the necklace around her neck, with a ring hanging from it. I recognized it instantly. It was the couple's ring Ian and I shared. "Sis-in-law, you don't mind that I drink from Ian's bottle, right? We shared chopsticks growing up. It's pure friendship. You can't expect Ian to lose all his friends just because he has a girlfriend." Ian noticed nothing. He was frowning as he looked for tissues for Sandra. I saw Sandra raise an eyebrow at me provocatively. Seeing I didn't respond, Sandra deliberately touched the necklace on her chest and continued. "We apologized, shouldn't sis-in-law apologize too? You made up some imaginary man just to win an argument and made my Ian cry for days." She looked like she was righteously standing up for Ian. Ian looked at me with a frown. "Flora, you really did go too far." I didn't speak. A guy in sportswear, broad shoulders, narrow waist, strikingly good-looking, walked over. He took the bottle from my hand and tilted his head back to drink. "Sorry I'm late. I'm Flora's best male friend." Chapter 3. Casey appeared at the perfect moment. I wrapped my arm around his affectionately as I introduced him. "This is Casey, my best male friend. We were born in the same year, same month, same day. We're all friends here." I invited him to join the hike. "You guys don't mind, right?" Ian shoved Sandra aside and yanked me toward him. "Flora, how can you hold another guy's arm?" I blinked and smiled. "Casey isn't another guy. He's basically family. Don't tell me you're jealous of my best male friend too. Don't be so petty. I don't even see him as a man." As I said that, I pulled my hand out of Ian's grip and patted Casey's broad shoulder with a smile. "Flora, come back here." Ian's face had completely darkened. After all, Casey was undeniably handsome, even overshadowing him a bit, and no matter how you looked at him, he was clearly a man. Casey held my hand up, revealing the silver ring on his pinky finger. "Don't get the wrong idea. We grew up sleeping in the same bed. If I liked Flora, what would that have to do with you?" His voice was pleasant, calm even. But absolutely unmistakably provocative. Ian flushed with rage, glaring at Casey. "Flora has a boyfriend. Can you keep some distance?" Before Casey could speak, I smiled. "Ian, why are you being so selfish? I can't just throw away my best friend just because I got a boyfriend." Ian clenched his fists. "He's a man." I waved my hand dismissively. "I don't treat him like a man." "Sandra, hurry up and talk some sense into Ian. Why is he acting like a jealous little boy?" Sandra, standing behind Ian, seemed to finally snap out of her daze. She tiptoed and wrapped an arm around Ian's neck, forcing a laugh. "Come on, let's go hike. Ian can't leave us childhood friends standing around waiting for him." Unfortunately, Ian was too furious at the moment to calm down. He suddenly lunged forward and pointed at the ring on Casey's finger. "Why is your ring on his hand?" I patted my head. "Oh right, he said he liked it last time. I just loaned it to him for a couple of days. No big deal." Casey continued smoothly, "We've shared everything since we were kids. What's hers is mine." Ian was nearly stomping on the ground in fury as he yelled, "That's our couple's ring. Flora, this is cheating." His eyes were red, like he was about to cry. I dropped my smile and lifted my chin. Then what's Sandra wearing around her neck? Ian whipped his head around, then suddenly yanked the ring off Sandra's necklace. When did you take my ring? The pull left a red mark on Sandra's neck. Tears welled in her eyes as she winced. Ian, that hurts. It's just a stupid ring, why are you making a scene? The two guys behind her stepped forward to defend her. Ian, now you're going too far. We even shared socks back in the day. I licked my lips and smiled. Did you share girlfriends too? The two guys fell silent, cheeks burning. Ian quickly put the ring back on his own finger. Flora, look, I got mine back. You should put yours on too, okay? Don't be mad. Seeing how sincere he looked, I decided to give him a little sweetness. I put the couple's ring back on. Ian visibly relaxed. On the way up the mountain, Ian carried my bag, handed me fruit, and stayed glued to my side. Just like when he was first courting me. Every time Sandra tried to talk to Ian, he ignored her completely. Her fists were clenched, and she stared daggers at me as if she wanted to tear me apart. Flora, I know you're upset about my relationship with Sandra and you brought a guy just to make me jealous. It's my fault for upsetting you. I'll definitely keep my distance from her in the future. I looked at him without responding. Ian quickly added, how much did you pay that actor? I'll reimburse you. Just don't bring him again next time. As he spoke, Ian transferred 5,000 yuan to my WeChat and added a note saying it was a voluntary gift. I looked at my phone, then suddenly threw myself into Ian's arms and glanced over at Sandra. Why did you transfer me so much money? Sandra came over and asked sourly, how much did he transfer? Sis-in-law doesn't know, Ian used to send 30,000, 50,000 to me. She tried to peek at my screen, then turned to Ian. Hey, don't forget your brothers. Why didn't you transfer money to me? Ian checked my expression and snapped impatiently, Sandra, cut it out. Can't you see Flora isn't happy? Sandra's face turned pale. She suddenly dropped to the ground, saying she had twisted her ankle. Ian, carry me up the mountain. It hurts too much. I really can't walk. I looked up and noticed the two guys had already walked far ahead. Sandra shot me a provocative look. Ian, did you forget that when you got lost in the mountains I was the one who carried you home? We're pure friendship. Sis-in-law wouldn't mind me being injured, right? Ian, who had been firm a moment ago, immediately faltered when he saw her crying. He looked at me. Flora, Sandra is my friend after all. Sandra chimed in, sis-in-law won't just stand there and ignore someone in need, right? I smiled sweetly. Of course not. Then I beckoned to Casey. He crouched down in front of me. Perfect timing. I'm tired too. See you at the top. I leaned onto Casey's back, my field of view lifting as he stood. We're all friends. I get it, I'm sure you two are just pure friendship too. As Casey carried me forward, Ian abandoned Sandra and rushed after us. Flora. Didn't we agree, no more actors? I replied helplessly, Ian, Casey is my best male friend. Why don't you believe me? By the time we reached the mountaintop, Ian was completely subdued. He didn't even look at Sandra. When everyone went to pick up their lunch boxes, Sandra walked up to me with a dark expression. I really underestimated you. You think finding some guy to provoke Ian will make him give up on what we have? Dream on. I dropped my smile and asked her, you like Ian? Sandra let out a cold laugh, confident. If you know what's good for you, you'll leave. The only woman Ian can have, is me. I shook my head. Sandra's voice sharpened. You know Maya, right? If you don't wise up, you'll end up just like her. Maya was Ian's ex-girlfriend, she jumped off a building only 2 months into dating him. Her explicit photos had been plastered all over the school. I trembled and took half a step back. Sandra thought I was scared. Just as she showed a triumphant smile, I suddenly raised my hand and slapped her hard across the face. Chapter 4. The commotion was so loud that the guys quickly hurried over. I threw myself into Ian's arms and cried miserably, Ian Ge, Sandra bullied me. Sandra rushed up to me, covering her face, shouting angrily, you slapped me. Who's bullying who? Ian, you can't take sides. Sandra is the real victim. Ian's face darkened as he asked what happened, and Sandra shoved me aside, grabbing Ian's hand to press it against her cheek. Ian, my face is swollen. Aren't you going to stand up for me? Ian frowned at me. Flora, how could you hit her? That's too much. I wiped my tears. But Sandra told me to watch out for Maya coming to my bedside at night to claim my life. The moment the words left my mouth, not only Ian froze, the other two guys turned pale too. To them, Maya's suicide had been caused by their jokes going too far. Ian suddenly shoved Sandra away. You're insane. We're done. Don't contact me again. He grabbed my hand and dragged me away. Behind us, I heard the two guys complaining, weren't we supposed to never mention that name again? Sandra, are you out of your mind? None of that mattered, what mattered was Ian promising he'd never be involved with Sandra again. The moment Ian left, I wiped my hands hard with a wet wipe. Casey was smoking by the doorway. I asked him, how's Maya? He exhaled a ring of smoke, face dark. I nodded slowly and took a deep breath. 3 days passed. It was Ian's birthday. The party was held in his family's villa. Same familiar group, only Sandra wasn't there this time. Ian held my hand affectionately. Flora, I really, truly like you. Let's get engaged in a couple of days, okay? Before cutting the cake, his buddies insisted on giving gifts first. A giant pink box was pushed in, wrapped with a pink bow. Egged on by the crowd, Ian went to open it. As soon as the lid lifted, Sandra jumped out wearing a spaghetti strap mini dress. Happy birthday! She squeezed her chest together, striking a seductive pose. Everyone screamed, saying she looked sexy, the men completely stunned. After all, seeing a bro transform into a goddess was too bizarre. I watched calmly as Ian grabbed Sandra's hand and I asked, didn't you say you'd cut ties? Ian spoke, Flora, Sandra is still my good friend. I ignored her for 3 whole days, that was punishment enough. She knows she was wrong. Don't be so petty. Sandra already told me Casey is a performing arts student. You hired him on purpose to spite me. That really embarrassed me. How could you be that intimate with a stranger? I stared at him expressionlessly. Then what exactly is Sandra doing right now, hopping out of a box tied with ribbons like a gift? Should I get you to a bed as well? Sandra's eyes brimmed red as she shouted, how can you insult the pure relationship between me and Ian like that? He even used his hands on me back then and we still never slept together. Sis-in-law, stop being jealous over nothing. Ian looked at me, self-righteous and firm. Exactly, Flora. Be reasonable. I would never have feelings for her. I smiled and asked, so how long does he take to finish? Sandra responded carelessly, over 20 minutes. Sis-in-law, stop asking about private things between friends. I let out a dramatic gasp. Only that short? My best male friend lasts 40 to 50 minutes. Looks like the gift he picked for me is pretty fitting. As I said that, I handed Ian the smallest size of condom. The room froze once again. Ian's smile disappeared instantly. Flora, I already told you. Stop hiring actors to provoke me. I'm not going to believe it. I spread my hands and smiled. Why wouldn't you believe it? Casey and I were classmates from kindergarten. Ask anyone you like. Be generous, don't get triggered so easily. Just because your abilities don't match his, I won't look down on you. Ian suddenly grabbed my hand. Flora, even if he's your best male friend, how can you two be so filthy? I pointed at Sandra. What's the problem? We're childhood friends. How can you insult our pure friendship? Or are you saying Sandra is filthy too? Ian froze. His face reddened as he stammered uselessly, unable to form a coherent word. At last he tugged at my sleeve as if compromising. Flora, don't see that Casey anymore. We're getting engaged. I asked in confusion, and what about your sister bro? Ian immediately threw Sandra out the door. What are you doing here? This is embarrassing. Sandra, don't ever show up in front of me again. Sandra shouted furiously from outside, Ian doesn't want me anymore? So your wings have grown hard now? Don't forget how I soothed you to sleep when you were little. When you laid on my chest, why weren't you embarrassed then? I pushed Ian aside and smiled at Sandra. Sandra, why are you bothered by all that? Aren't you two good friends? Sandra glared at me with hatred. You manipulative green tea bitch. Just wait. With that, she stormed off. I turned back to Ian, sounding considerate. I'm not forcing you two to break completely. Talk to her properly. After so many years of friendship. I'll give you a week. Can you handle it cleanly? Ian moved, pulled me into his arms. Flora, you're so understanding. After leaving Ian's villa, I took off my jacket, tossed it into a trash bin, and got into Casey's car. Trashy man, pathetic woman, I muttered, unable to hold back my disgust. Casey laughed and patted my head. You worked hard. Sandra hadn't been bluffing. That same night, a confession wall post appeared. Title, A girlfriend so controlling she forced us brothers of 20 years to cut ties. The post blew up instantly. Replies poured in until it was pinned to the top. Chapter 5. I read the post. It was filled, line after line, with evidence that during our relationship I had stopped Ian from interacting normally with his friends. Including but not limited to, leaving in the middle of gatherings, insulting his friends while hiking, and making a scene at a birthday party. They even showed screenshots of their private chat praising me. Although they didn't mention my name, the personal details were extremely specific. The physics department's campus beauty, junior year. They might as well have written down my name and ID number. Very soon, someone posted my photo underneath. Rumors and insults came flooding in. Sometimes even when I walked down the street, people kept staring at me and whispering. In public course group projects, no one even wanted to team up with me. I was isolated, all because of that post. Some people even exaggerated the story and posted it on Instagram. Under the posts where I used to record my daily life, hateful comments kept refreshing nonstop. For 3 days straight, public opinion kept fermenting. But Ian didn't even give me a single call. His last message on WeChat was still from 2 days ago. Baby, I'm dealing with things with Sandra. I forwarded the Instagram post to Ian. But at that moment, Sandra called me. Flora, scared now? There's no good end for anyone who offends me. Break up with Ian as soon as possible, or I'll never let this go. Her voice was vicious and triumphant. I gripped my phone tightly. You're not afraid I'll tell Ian? Sandra burst out laughing, her voice full of mockery. Flora, you don't actually think Ian will choose you and cut ties with me, do you? To tell you the truth, his phone is right here with me. I've already deleted the messages you sent him. As she spoke, she opened the bathroom door. Ian's laughter and conversation with others immediately came through from her side. Sandra sneered. He's just fooling around with you. We've been best friends for over 20 years. Don't even think about stealing Ian from me. Just wait to be dumped. I paused, then asked, is this how you warned Maya back then too? Sandra fell silent for a long moment before replying in a low, irritated voice, none of your damn business. I said coldly, aren't you afraid she'll come looking for you for payback? Sandra still sounded dismissive. She was just an idiot. Ian only wanted to toy with her and she actually thought about marriage. Playing her was as easy as playing a dog. Even if she turned into a ghost, I wouldn't be scared. Flora, I'm warning you, back off, or you can go join that idiot Maya. With that, Sandra hung up. I did nothing and simply let the online outrage grow. 4 days later, Ian came back. He happily asked me out for dinner. As soon as we met, he handed me a pile of gifts. Flora, don't worry. I've handled everything. I won't let her appear in front of you again. I opened the post, then tossed my phone in front of him. Let's break up. Chapter 6. Ian wouldn't break up with me. He had chased me for so long, and the novelty of finally being together hadn't worn off. He wasn't willing to let go. So he suddenly stood up and stopped me. Flora, didn't we agree that once things were cut off, we'd be fine? I pointed at the phone on the table. Look for yourself. Ian picked up the phone and skimmed through everything at lightning speed. 2 minutes later, he handed it back to me with fear and trembling. Flora, I didn't know about any of this. I'll clarify it right now, say that cutting ties with her was my own decision and that you never forced me. He reached out to take my hand, but I shook him off. They all say you shouldn't date someone who has their own tight little clique. Now I understand. You don't have to struggle with this. Let's just break up. After saying that, I took my bag and walked out of the restaurant. When I got out of bed that afternoon, I saw that Ian had already posted on the confession page, the forum, and Instagram. The attention shifted instantly. Public opinion didn't calm down at all. Instead, it turned around and started attacking Ian. Comments about him abandoning his friends for a girl were practically everywhere. Photos of Ian, red-eyed and begging me for forgiveness, spread widely across the internet. That same night, Sandra blocked me at the entrance of the girls' dorm. Her face was livid with rage. "Flora, you jinx. Do you have any idea how much trouble you're causing Ian? He's being cursed at online like crazy. Are you happy now? How can you be so vicious?" I remained unmoved. My boyfriend is the one being cursed at. What does that have to do with you? Sandra's eyes were bloodshot as if she wanted to tear me apart. You want to be the side chick, is that it? I asked. Sandra finally snapped. She raised her hand, ready to slap me across the face. What are you two doing? Ian rushed over from a distance, pulled me behind him, and shoved Sandra away with a single blow. Caught off guard, Sandra stumbled and fell to the ground, shouting, "Ian, are you insane?" Ian clutched my hand tightly. "Didn't I tell you not to show up in front of Flora again? And you actually tried to hit her? I still considered you a good friend. Flora is my girlfriend. I never thought you'd treat her like this behind the scenes." Sandra got up, trying to explain something, but I shot her a provoking smile. As expected, she completely lost it and lunged at me. "You bitch. It must be you, you set me up on purpose." Ian shoved her away mercilessly, then grabbed my hand and strode off. That lunatic. Ian kept reassuring me again and again, promising he would make sure Sandra received the punishment she deserved. He told me not to worry. But I didn't wait for Ian. I had already gone ahead and exposed online that this so-called brother was actually a woman. The narrative flipped dramatically, and the gossip-hungry flocked in immediately. The comments section became a battlefield. Many men felt I was making a fuss over nothing. They said having a few opposite-sex friends was no big deal. But the good thing was, plenty of opposing voices appeared too. A lot of people stood on my side, dissected Sandra's little essay, and concluded she was a pretentious coquette bitch. For a while, opinions were flying everywhere. But Sandra suddenly went quiet. It wasn't until the next afternoon that she finally sent me a message. She wrote, "Flora, you will never be able to beat me. Ian will always take my side." Sure enough, Ian soon came out with another clarification. This time, he said he and Sandra were purely just friends. They had known each other for 20 years and there was absolutely nothing inappropriate between them. He even posted their usual chat logs. They really were all ordinary conversations between friends. There were even a few lines of Sandra praising me. Another set of new evidence. Because of Ian's stance, I was once again at a disadvantage. When Casey called me, I was sitting inside Maya's hospital room. The girl on the bed had her eyes peacefully closed, face pale. She had finally made it off the emergency table, but unfortunately, she still hadn't opened her eyes. Maya and I grew up together. She had always been gentle and quiet, smart and hardworking. Back then, she was the top student in our class, the one teachers liked the most. Even my parents would occasionally sigh and say how wonderful it would be if I could be as obedient and well-behaved as Maya. Sometimes, I felt jealous. Jealousy is normal, no friendship is completely free from it. But we were still the best of friends. During the period when she was cyberbullied and doxxed, I happened to be on medical leave from school. The next time I saw her was already here, in the hospital. Not long before everything happened, she had still been telling me good news, saying she had met the best boy in the world. Maya, hang on a little longer. Those people should all pay the price. Ian called me, but I didn't pick up. When the phone rang for the 5th time, I finally answered slowly. "Flora, can we meet?" Ian's voice trembled with panic. He was desperate to explain. "Some things are too complicated. I need to explain to you face to face. Flora, I love you. You have to believe me." I asked in return, seeing me being cursed at online, did that make you happy? Is Sandra satisfied now? Ian, I'm not some part of the play between you and her. Ian said, Flora, no, I didn't, please believe me one last time. Let's meet. I'll explain everything clearly. I agreed to meet him tomorrow at 3 in the afternoon. Because of the school anniversary rehearsals, I waited for him backstage in the auditorium. During that time, the people rehearsing would usually rest in the seats behind the dark curtain. Since Ian wanted to explain, he might as well explain clearly in front of students from all the different departments. Chapter 7. I had informed the rehearsal students ahead of time, so when Ian arrived, I was the only one standing backstage. Flora. His voice was loud, the acoustics of the auditorium were incredible, making it sound as if he were speaking through a megaphone. Ian froze for a moment. He glanced around, saw no one nearby, and immediately rushed toward me. He grabbed my hand, panting. Flora, listen to my explanation. I shook off his hand and moved a little closer to the black curtain. How are you going to explain it? You clearly promised you wouldn't contact Sandra anymore, so why are you defending her online? You can't stand seeing her get attacked, but you can watch me being cursed at nonstop for days. Who exactly is your girlfriend? Hearing my question, Ian answered immediately, of course you're my girlfriend. Sandra and I really are just friends. She's in a special situation. She can't be attacked. Ian stumbled over his words, unable to articulate anything clearly. So I raised my voice and asked, what special situation? She has depression? Ian shook his head. He looked into my eyes as if suddenly making up his mind. She's pregnant. His answer truly shocked me. I steadied myself and looked him up and down. Your child? I laughed in disbelief. So this pure friendship somehow got her pregnant? Ian and Sandra, those two shameless cheating dogs, really kept pushing the limits of what I thought humanly possible. Ian said, Flora, it was an accident. That night she was drunk and I was drunk too. I thought. I pressed him, didn't you say you'd cut off contact? Yet you were drinking with her in the middle of the night? Ian's eyes turned red as he pleaded, I wanted to drink with her one last time before cutting ties. I didn't expect the next day would turn out like this. Flora, I really only like you. He raised his hand in oath right in front of me. I asked, is she getting rid of the baby? His expression immediately stiffened. Flora, that's a life. And her parents already know. They absolutely refuse to let her terminate the pregnancy. I couldn't stop myself from saying, then what is there left to say? We're breaking up. My goal had already been achieved anyway, the students behind the curtain were from all departments. The explosive scandal between Ian and Sandra would spread across the campus soon enough. Seeing it in person was far more thrilling than reading it online. I turned to leave, but unexpectedly Ian grabbed my wrist and suddenly dropped to his knees in front of me. Flora, don't break up. I've already decided you're going to be my wife. We already met each other's parents, didn't we? When Sandra gives birth, we'll give the child to you to raise, okay? You won't have to suffer through childbirth, doesn't that sound great? Ian stared into my eyes, hoping his words would move me. I was genuinely stunned. I knew he wasn't a good person, but I never expected he could be this shameless. I stepped back twice and rejected him clearly. I will never agree to such an immoral solution. You and Sandra are disgusting, absolutely disgusting. Scumbag, we're breaking up. I threw down the final words and went to leave. But Ian lunged forward and clamped down on my wrist. Flora, look at the internet, everyone is cursing you. With your reputation ruined like this, who else besides me would ever want you? Flora, you'll never escape me for the rest of your life. I couldn't break free. Seeing the ferocity in his eyes, I deliberately provoked him. What about Maya then? You caused her to be cyberbullied, spreading her photos was also your way of trapping her into marrying you? The moment I mentioned Maya, Ian actually let out a breath of relief. He must have thought I was jealous. His tone became casual, his gaze even more condescending. She was just something to play with. She didn't know how to respect herself. Say a couple sweet words to her and she'd get so touched she'd willingly crawl into bed. Ian hadn't even finished his sentence when I finally couldn't hold back. I raised my hand high and slapped him hard across the face. I pressed the remote. The black curtain slowly lifted, revealing countless shocked faces. More than 100 people sat in the audience, mouths hanging open. Several had already raised their phones to record and take pictures. Casey was standing closest to the stage. The moment he realized what was happening, he jumped onto the stage and punched Ian to the ground with one blow. No one panicked. No one even tried to stop him. On the contrary, many people applauded and cheered. When someone reaches a certain level of scumbaggery, even gods and humans are united in their anger. Ian scrambled to his feet. Facing the overwhelming curses around him, he finally realized something was wrong. He stared at me fiercely. "Flora, you actually set me up?" I sneered. "Just letting everyone see your true face as the scumbag you are." Countless cameras were pointed directly at his face. Ian had no choice but to flee the auditorium in humiliation. Casey patted my shoulder and whispered, "You did well." I shook my head. "Maya tutored me since we were kids. I'm glad I could do something for her. Scumbag men and pretentious coquette bitches deserve to be spat on forever." When I returned to the dorm, I received a call from Sandra. She clearly didn't know what had happened in the auditorium today. Her tone was filled with pride. "Flora, do you know? I'm pregnant with Ian's child. He has feelings for me. Ian is only blinded by you right now. It won't take long before he comes to his senses and realizes who the most important person to him is. Flora, you will never be able to compete with me." I waited until she finished her entire triumphant speech before reminding her. "You can check the school website and confession pages now. Congratulations, your pregnancy with Ian's child is known by the entire school." Sandra sniffed disdainfully. "Don't think you can provoke me. Ian told me to rest well during the pregnancy and not go online. You're just jealous, aren't you?" Chapter 8. I hung up the phone and went to the hospital to see Maya. I told her everything that had happened these days, told her that the scumbag's true colors had been completely exposed. I told her to wake up soon. It would be far too much of a pity if she didn't personally witness her enemy's downfall. Casey stood at the door. "Flora, thank you on Maya's behalf." I hesitated before speaking. "If there's any good news, tell me the very first moment." Casey was Maya's twin brother. The moment the thought of revenge against Ian appeared in my mind, I immediately went to discuss it with him. When I returned to the dorm and was finally alone, I uploaded all the evidence I had collected before. The recordings and photos from the bar. The things Sandra whispered to warn me during the hiking trip. All the screenshots and call logs from every conversation Sandra ever had with me. I had saved all of them. Whether their so-called pure friendship was real or not, these things were proof enough. A storm erupted on the school forums. As I released the evidence, countless ex-girlfriends of Ian stepped forward to expose Sandra too. They said she was a typical man-chasing pretentious coquette. Later, Sandra called me again and again, cursing me each time, but I recorded every call and posted them. Eventually, after suffering the consequences repeatedly, she no longer dared to curse me. For a long while, I didn't see Sandra at all. I heard she had taken a leave from school because she couldn't handle the cyberbullying. Or maybe she took a break to protect the pregnancy. Either way, didn't matter. The other two members of their clique came to look for me as well. They wanted to avenge Sandra, but with Casey always by my side, they couldn't find a chance. So I approached them myself. "Don't you two have girlfriends?" The two of them instantly stiffened up, asking what I wanted. I smiled and asked, "Who is the real father of Sandra's child?" Don't think I couldn't see it. The relationships within that tiny clique were far more complicated than just Sandra and Ian. The two men ran off and never came to bother me again. When Casey and I started dating, Ian appeared. He wanted to talk to me alone, right there in the cafe. I readily agreed. "Did you ever love me at all?" Ian's first sentence sounded worn and tired. Before I could respond, he started explaining on his own. "That night, I really was drunk. I don't remember anything. I didn't mean to betray you. I truly don't have any special feelings for Sandra." I shook my head. "Never loved me. But if you really don't remember anything, Let me give you a friendly reminder. When the time comes, don't forget to get a paternity test done. Ian's face immediately turned pale and he hurried away. As for who the child belongs to, hard to guess.